What's up, everybody? Good evening, late evening, but we have a sharp moon, the edge of space. Coming at you live, 10:45 p.m., Central Florida. It's a hot one. Seeing some Saharan dust, but the moon is coming in resilient. Big shouts to my chat room, Ellie Wynn, great to see you, Victor Morrison, Cat Dan, Happy Honey, nice to see y'all. Make sure you tell me if the audio is good, hit that 4K, and share the video with somebody. It's going to be a fun one tonight. Got the moon at a really good position. This is as clear as it's going to be tonight, but I hope it's going to stay. We'll be on for like an hour and a half or two, talk about some electric universe stuff, about field theory. I'm prepared tonight. Jedi Princess, happy Sunday. So the moon is a waxing gibbous at 58.7%, coming in at 40 degrees altitude, which is really good, and it's our eighth day with our moon. Last night I was going to try and get some Jupiter and Saturn, but it got really hazy. It feels like there's that kind of dust in the air, so we'll see how long that lasts tonight. let's get the party started. All right, before I play the next one, talk a little bit about the features that are prominent on the moon tonight, and I can probably do it with drawing as well, which I just feel like I should be doing that with almost every time I talk about the moon, just sketch. What's up, Arum Vorax, and everybody join in. Great to see y'all. Hope everybody's had a fun Sunday. It was so hot here. Just been trying to stay cool and just feeling bad because I've had the AC on all day and now I'm like sweltering because I don't want to let out all the cold air. All right, so where's my paint? You can see it's very clear, but there's also a little thin layer of haze. If I'm looking outside, it's very yellow. Sweet. So right here, Mare Crisium, very prominent hexagonal mare, or sea. Really, no one ever talks about this being so hexagonal, and also no one really talks about the relationship between that and Sea of Tranquility right here. Very clearly hexagonal when you look at it. And then you have the hyperboloid. And through this hyperboloid, you got the Birkeland current, Birkeland filament, coaxial circuit, drawing forces inwards and outwards. So I've been watching Ken Wheeler a lot, and I think I'm not trying to really butcher his teachings. So he has the centrifugal divergence and centripetal convergence, I think. But I definitely recommend checking out Ken Wheeler, Theoria Apophysis' channel for a much more accurate description of what I'm drawing here. But fundamentally, it's that there's this structure of our known reality, and there's proof in all sorts of different places, but specifically here on the surface of the moon. I know my regulars have heard this a million times, but very good example right here of the conjugate geometry. All right, so we got Mare Crisium, got Sea of Tranquility, Sea of Serenity, Mare Imbrium up top. We've got Mare Fecunditatis right here, Langrenus Crater, Mare Humorum, Mare Marginis, Mare Undarum, Proclus, which is a hot spot, one of those transient lunar phenomenons, electrostatic levitation of dust and gases that glow. Got the Apennine mountain range, and you got the range of craters all the way down here from Clavius to, I want to say that this is Petavius. You also have Theophilus, Katharina, Cyrillus, and that's all I can remember off the top. But that's our moon for tonight, and there'll be more sketching and geometry after this tune called Feel For You. That's pretty funny. I sprung a cat on you. I clicked it by accident, but it's all good. I'm gonna talk about this just a little bit, talk about some geometry. What's going on, everybody in the chat? Let's see, we got some people showing up. Genghis, good to see you. Somebody somewhere. Silent Murmur. Fantasy Ecstasy, what's happening? Electric Crystals and Cyber Sully. Let me know if I missed you. Hope you're doing well. Cosmic Cat, exactly. So I want to show you how throughout the universe this geometry is persistent, consistent, and fractal. Yeah, I'm going to try and talk a little bit and play a bit of music. Please let me know if you have any parts of the moon that you want to zoom into, or if you have any questions about this electric universe, geometry, field theory, and I'll do my best to answer. So where's my sketching stuff? Sketching stuff. Okay. There's always so many things to hide and unhide. All right, sketchy. So what I'm trying to show is the fact that, let's move this cat over a little bit. How creatures, humans, particles, systems all grow out of the same geometry, and how right here you'll see this structure, which is the two hexagons that we see right here. I know it's sideways, that's why it was rotated before, or I had it rotated. But you can see this is the conjugate geometry. This is the torus. This is the hyperboloid. This is the Birkeland filament, the coaxial circuit going through the spine, coming from the top of the head to the tail. And this is why things look like this. Excuse me. We also have similar type structures right here. Humans, even more so than cats, have hexagonal features. And then if you join these two, you'll see it's a butterfly shape. And you have spiral. You have the plane of inertia. In fact, the whiskers grow along the field lines that are created. I can't draw much further to the right. But yeah, we have eyes growing along an inertial plane of inertia, and then it keeps going further. This geometry keeps, it's bubble packed or circle packed. Whoa, lots of comments. Dun, dun, dun. Hexagon face. Daniel Justin, what's happening? Welcome. My gray cat is cuter, says Ellie Wynn, although less perfect. Yeah, this cat is not so cute, but definitely perfect for a science example. Celestial symmetry. So, yeah, this is really what it's all about in terms of a simple, logical explanation for features on the moon, for features in faces. It's not just pareidolia or seeing things. It's actually the same because it's made the same way. So partially here, if you keep it going, right, that's the infinity, that's the hyperboloid. Right. Same thing as you see here, and it's fractal. So obviously the cat is tiny compared to the moon, and this is why, you know, cats and humans and the moon are grown along Birkeland filaments or twisting coaxial circuits that flow through our ether reality, and they flow based on a gradation between 1 and 0, or black and white. Oops. If you just want to envision it as a gradient, So here's where there are certain types of people, here's where there are certain types of people, and here's where certain behavior emerges from, and here's where you have a lot of people who follow, and here's where you have experience. And further, the center of this plasmoid, or the center which is a plasmoid, is recursively learning and creating shells of plasma encoded information while sympathetically resonating with those shells. All right, that was a little bit, but yeah, just getting started here tonight. It's like hyped up animal technology right here. Now let me hide this and focus a bit more on the moon, hide the cat. All right. Balancing pressure waves, or pressure mediation between the expansion of the radiation of this point in space and then reaching resistance in the ether around it and creating the layers as well as experiencing them additively. It's fairly complex, but I think over time it'll just start making sense, but you really got to see it visually. What was I going to play? Something fun. Let's keep the energy up. This is from All in My Mind, with those minds. was a little banger called Rid Your Mind of Those Little Boxes. But it's hard to rid your mind of cell phones. But it's also the metaphorical box, of course. Let's see. Got Boggin, What's Happening, welcome. And it's all fractals, says Electric Crystal. Electric Crystals. It's all fractals. It is a fractal geometry that permeates our world. The fact that you can see these hexagons side by side, you see it right in front of you. Of course, the moon's kind of hazy right now, but I was showing how Sea of Serenity and Sea of Tranquility, the two large mares in the center of the moon, are two hexagons side by side, or spheres, circulars, that have merged and created boundary layers that create hexagons. The reason it looks like that is because of this electrical essence forming these shapes recursively through geological formations, through human formations. If you look at your hand actually has these dendritic structures. If you look at honeycomb or molecules or any type of thing that you imagine is so-called sacred geometry, it's more so that it's geometry that's similar versus sacred, because yes, that's kind of romantic, but it just takes your mind to a place that is less real than what it really is, which is very physical geometry that stores information well. Boggin, I think that if you're interested in the wave, you should check out this playlist that I have, where it's very much, it looks like the wave phenomenon, and it's really breaking the sound barrier, like a hypersonic or bullet breaking the sound barrier, or really causing a perturbation in the ether. Looks a lot like the lunar wave. And so I have a playlist that shows a lot of like 10, 12 lunar waves, and then it has a couple of videos at the end explaining sort of what it is, and I think that it's correct to some degree. I definitely don't think the moon is a hologram, but these waves are something. So where is it? Other waves. Here we go. So this playlist, if anybody's interested in the wave phenomenon, that has like 10 different examples, and then it has 2 videos, one showing slow motion bullet going through and creating these kind of echoes or perturbations in the ether. And it looks a lot like the lunar wave, kind of these 2 thin lines following one another, causing a real kind of intentional, directional wavefront gradation. And then right after that, this other guy shows a video of like a slow motion capture of an explosive device from a field test, and you can kind of see this shock wave emerge from the explosive device that creates the same type of effect that we see. So in that as well, I've included, have I included my own waves? I haven't. But if you check out my other playlists, actually, I'll just give it to you as well. But I've captured 3 lunar waves, 1 Saturn wave, and 2 Jupiter waves so far. All of which were done live. Where is it? So weird. Created playlists. Wave, wave, wave. Here we go. This is the playlist with all the waves that I've captured, even though the last Jupiter wave one I haven't cut to a small video yet, but it's in one of the recent streams live. And you'll see that they all have the same inherent quality. Always comes in pairs. Let me adjust the moon for a sec. They always come in pairs. They always have a very determined direction. They distort, almost like refract the image that you're seeing. It can happen over the moon and planets. It's definitely not due to little aircraft passing by, or 747s, for example, because that has turbulent patterns, like rotational turbulence. I don't think the moon's a hologram, because the moon's a real thing. It makes more sense that way. And it is a shame that we can't talk about lunar waves in a way that makes sense in pop mainstream, but then again, mainstream science is just like completely off track, seems. Hey, 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 dagger spells, what's happening? What else? All right, let's play a little bit of tunes. I'm gonna keep an eye out because the moon's going in and out of darkness. You see those kind of, I think the Saharan dust is kicking up, but it's looking nice right now. It got bright again. And I wanna just keep playing some old jams. How about Flip It? This one's kind of Dilla style thing. Yo, yo, hopping back in here. Say what's up to everybody joining. See Howie Dunn. What's up, brother? Good to see you. And who else we got? And I see David Schmidt. What's happening? Nice to see you. I've been good. I've been trying to stream some more. Had to take a long break and, you know, make it reasonable to stream again. I don't know, you get obsessed with it for a while. You gotta kind of have to give it a break. But back here for kind of a ramp up towards December 21st and the Great Conjunction this year. It's going to be amazing. Another year capturing crazy events and trying to stream it on YouTube. Talking about plasma, talking about fields. Great to see some of the old folks, because I've been doing late streams. I guess there's a different crowd, the late folk, the Insomniac crew doing some jams to Jupiter and Saturn, but great to be back on the moon here. What's up, American Life Videos? Welcome. Just a tiny bit more sketching and talking about features, just to make sure I keep mixing it up here. But I wanted to clear this and do a new file. Don't save, hide that. Yalla. Okay. Now that it's super clear, I can draw on some features and talk a bit more about this hexagons and the conjugate geometry, centripetal convergence, centrifugal divergence. Let me see if I can get this right. I gotta say it right. Ken Wheeler. Centrifugal convergence, right? See, this is me learning on the fly. There it is, centrifugal divergence and centripetal convergence. That makes sense. So the convergence, let's see if I get this right. It's the right geometry at least. All right, centrifugal cortex, and then centripetal magnetic flow. All right. Don't murder me if I get this wrong. I'm just trying to talk about the right thing here. But essentially, this kind of conjugate geometry between what is expanding and what is meeting it at resistance points and creating these thin layers of plasma is really what I'm trying to get at. So we got some crispy moon, and where's my sketch pad? Okay, so Sea of Serenity. Why does this look the way it does? It's even more of a pentagon than a hexagon, but it's really more so that it was circular and then it expands. It was circular and it expands until it forms this kind of structure. And convergence, right, to this Birkeland coaxial circuit, creating this type of structure, hyperboloid. And it repeats throughout nature. Not only does it repeat on the surface of the moon, but it repeats in faces of cats that I showed earlier. But let me find another example. So let's look at honeycomb and bees. Why do bees create interlocking hexagons? They create interlocking hexagons because there are these pinches. The universe creates pinched matter and then boundary layers that we see, and everything else around it is counter space holding it in place. So, in a very simple reference, the words on the page of a book. Without the page, no words. Without the words, you still have the page, right? And And the page is really like the ether, and the words are carved out along filamentary lines into matter that we perceive. And everything else around it holds that in place, or even has a dance of generation between them, like I was saying. So not only do you have this recursive fractal geometry, so same thing here, hyperboloid. We have circular manifestations that grow outwards and turn into hexagons because of boundary layers like bubble packing. That's awful sketching. So you see this in rock formations, you see this in sugar molecules or caffeine molecules, and people just write this off as, you know, genetics or programming or hereditary traits or survival. It's always some sort of abstract terminology that explains what is fundamentally a consistent pattern in nature that, you know, astrologers and metaphysicians talk about as sacred geometry. NASA talks about it as, you know, this kind of side effect of space. Like, it's, you know, we're still driven by a gravity universe and a Big Bang cosmology, when in fact this is really what it should all be about. Why do these structures look similar? What makes a molecule have a lattice? What makes a crystal have a lattice? What makes a honeycomb create a lattice structure? Why is Sea of Serenity and Sea of Tranquility on the moon look just like this shape? So those are the types of questions that I feel like are never really asked or talked about on things like phys.org or Astronomy Today or any of the big channels that talk about space. It's always like, blah, 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 super far away, blah, 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 maybe we'll know. There's a lot of apologists for really people who are not asking the fundamental questions. So, just a little bit more on this. I'll show another quick example. So what do we got here? We got, let's look at a spider. I hope no one's arachnophobic. Well, maybe people are. I shouldn't do that, just in case. Let's find something else. What about a caffeine molecule? This makes sense for their streams. All right. Here we go. This is a caffeine molecule. And this is how we represent it. So not only is our geometry that we draw and use to interpret and record our theories, but the molecules themselves, as we interpret them, are these exact structures. There's got to be a reason that they are the same. So in fact, like I was saying, Sea of Serenity is more of a pentagon than a hexagon. And you see that exact correlation with this, this caffeine molecule diagram. Let's see. Yo, I see esoteric gold. What's up, my man? Nice to see you. I don't think bees exist on the moon. Maybe I'm wrong. Wait, what are we talking about? Talking about the fundamental geometry and how it exists throughout fractally and reliably. You get hexagonal, pentagonal boundary layers. You get a hyperboloid. Why do you get that? Because you have a coaxial circuit. You have the Birkeland filament at the center. You have a plasmoid here. You have radiating shells of consciousness and what we perceive as age or time resonating with the plasmoid. That's really terrible, but it's a terrible drawing. Let me do it better. So information on a nodal structure, just like an atomic structure that we learned in school, why does that exist throughout things? Because it makes more sense. We have a lot more storage space, and then you remember something by resonating with it in your field. But as you exist, you're also creating a new layer of an additive effect of experiencing that. So if you've ever heard, like, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and light takes a certain amount of time to travel back and forth, You've probably heard that anecdote, but really what it actually makes more sense is that you're experiencing the previous recorded frame of your life, personality, existence, all recorded at in plasma with almost like cymatic patterns. And it's real. It's not like an imaginary field. It's like a real thing that you just don't see optically. All right, back to the music. Let's hide this. And hide that. And what can we play that is fun? I know some people like this old jam. back in here. No repeats. What's happening, everybody in the chat? So a little bit more talking, just because I'm zoomed in on some hexagons right here, I got to talk about it, right? Excuse me. I'll get back to the music in a second, but just wanted to show y'all a really neat view here of, I want to say this is Arzachel. There's Rupus, the straight wall Rupus recta, or Huygens sword, coming up right under the Terminator, and I want to highlight that for a second. It's really good shading, shadows on it. It's coming up right here. I can actually draw on it. Just set this, let me set this right. Clickety-clack, and take nothing back. All right, so Huygens sword right here, hilt and blade. Of course, it's the same reason, because you got the field. That's why you have that geometry, almost like the butterfly pattern. But this is a really good view of it. You're getting the shadow right there. Rupus recta is the name of it. And then to the right of it, you got Thebit, and Thebit looks circular, but it's not. It's hexagonal right there. You can see it. And you have nested hexagons. You also have hexagons at the rim of larger hexagons. An electric signature. And then it's within, let me see, where's the name of that crater? I don't know. It's in a crater itself, but I don't see the name of that. But then you have a string of hexagons right here, these craters. I was saying that this is Patavius, but I'm wrong. I need to find the name of it. But look at these nested. This looks like a version. Actually, this is a pentagon. It's almost the same structure as I was showing earlier with Sea of Serenity and Sea of Tranquility. Same sort of thing. Yeah, not only that, you got the kind of spiral, like a galaxy arm. Let's see, chat room. Yabba dabba doo. What's going on, Relic? And is that a fault, crack, or ridge, asks Genghis Khan. So I think that's one of those things where it's like a channel that was like carved out. You know, it could be landslides overlapping, kind of like plate tectonics ideas. It also could be like an electrical arc moving across the surface, kind of creating one of those channels, but it's very particular. It could also be like a squeezed compression due to some sort of electrical event. It's fascinating, to be certain. But, you know, it's funny how to think about the meta storytelling of it, having to call it, not having to, but the fact that we name things swords as opposed to anything else, but it does actually look like a sword. I think probably swords were made, you know, that cross symbol is due to the magnetic geometry, as the field geometry that I talk about. I mean, I would imagine that those, the north-south, the coordinate system, all of that Cartesian systems are based on these exact fundamental geometries. It's almost obvious at this point that we draw the same way that we are made. Makes a lot more sense. So hexagons. Let's look at a little bit more here, right near the Apennine mountain range. And you kind of see where you have highlands and lowlands on the rim of Mare Imbrium. And to the right, this is Sea of Serenity, Mare Serenitatis. And again, Sea of Serenity being this kind of semi-hexagon, but really it's pentagonal, which in a way seems like the fact that like this fundamental geometry has a kind of lopsidedness to it, you know? Even though you do have symmetry in butterflies, for example, and in hips, there's always a little bit of a difference between the two sides. All right, let's see. Cybercellular, electric, magnetic are the same thing, only moving in opposite directions. Right, like that's what I was looking at, trying to talk about earlier, the centrifugal divergence and centripetal convergence. But really what it is this, you know, Ken doesn't talk about the Birkeland current flowing through this geometry. I've watched a lot of his videos, maybe he has, and I've missed it, but that's kind of what I see as this understanding where things are growing along a root system. So Genghis is asking, so the field is created from the objects in the center of the crater. So I think the center of the crater is kind of radiating its existence outwards when it was first either a small point, maybe from an arc, or, you know, the idea is that there was an impact period. So something impacted the moon and created these large lava basins, or it created basins and then it filled up with lava. And then the lava cooled, and that's how we have these kind of glossy flatlands. And then we have the mountainous range, but the idea is that it was excavated by impact. So that's the prevailing theory. In terms of electric universe, if you imagine that these structures might have been just that the moon was boiling, like you see bubbles on the surface of coffee or lava, and possibly that this was some sort of large kind of bubble burst. Equally, it could be a center point that was, you know, where an arc blast was there for a while, and it just kept expanding outwards and more until it exploded and found these boundary layers. It could also be, let me see if I can just sketch this at the same time. So, what I'm pointing out is that the geometry is there, how it was really formed, you know, seeing the laboratory experiments by Jacob Gable and Electric Universe Eyes and Bill Yelverton shows that, like, if you have an arc right here, it could create a circular radiating pattern, radiating, and then it meets some sort of boundary layer here and starts forming, right? And it packs because it's radiating outwards until it finishes. Same thing here, radiating out, radiating out, radiating out, radiating out, meeting boundary layers, creating there. So that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it would be like this plane of inertia where, given this geometry, this hyperboloid, or Donald Scott in the Electric Universe has this thing where this is a tube, the way he describes it, and Ken shows it as a tube, really, but it's pushed inward, squeezed at the center, so it ends up looking like a hyperboloid, which is an hourglass shape. But this is really like, in a way, where material gets pinched. So where I imagine the pinch happening is at the center over here, where this is the experienced moment of now, and this kind of layer is like short-term memory, and this type of layer is like the birth of the particle, or the plasmoid. And the plasmoid resonates with its shells, and as it resonates, it creates another shell. And that starts emanating out, and it starts, and so if you're thinking about something that happened yesterday, you're thinking about, you're resonating with this close shell. If you're thinking about your birth, you're resonating with this wide outer shell. And this is happening, like, think about it. If you believe in chakras or energy points, it's happening from your heart chakra, throat chakra, it's happening from your pelvis, happening from the crown chakra. It's probably going above your head and below your body to the bottom of your feet and beyond. And this is what the structure seems to be at every point and also at every supersystem. So from molecule to compound to blood vessels, etc., to humans, to cities, like Esoteric Gold was talking about earlier about the Akashic Record. So I would imagine that the Akashic Record is essentially, the center point is civilizations or Earth, and Earth has its shells of consciousness of what Earth looks like, of the information of Earth, and the plasmoid at the center of Earth communicates with its shells, creating new shells of existence, the moment of now, while experiencing the fleeting moment and outwards. And then everything else around Earth starts to impinge upon Earth's plasma sheath, therefore creating that same pattern again, the hyperboloid. So that's how I think the moon is right here somehow, and it has its memory, and Earth has its memory, and that's how they're communicating. That's how eyes communicate, that's how ears sound. Vibration, or vibrating the air when it comes to sound, is really sending, is sympathetically resonating with waves, or not waves, sorry, plasma shells that intersect and create nodal points of communication. So it's almost like what Ken talks about when it comes to magnets. So a magnet is not pulling equally. Magnets actually create a null point to where they both get pulled, depending on, I think, the point source value of this magnet. Still kind of learning how to articulate this, but it makes a lot of sense. So Earth and the moon have a point in between them to where they're both pulled. That's how gravity would work a little bit more logically within this system. All right, little break and some tunes. What shall I play? So many to choose from. What about this one? Space Race. What's going on, Robert H? Welcome.
Give you love and a common peace. Feel your pain cause it's part of me. I know you really think when your body's built. I'm amazed by the words on your lips. Give your name and a common peace. It's insane that you're part of me. Never lifts from my iron wrists. It's as if everybody is the same body. Insane and you want for relief. Maybe one day suddenly I made it the way that somebody someday, but we all gonna slip. Here in space now we come in peace. Seeing things that you cannot believe. Ready to trip on the drift. We can live to do, cause I love to give you. We are the space race, we are the moonwalk, we are the franchise, we are the sequel, they are the evil. How are we still here? For your place along the space race. Standing at the Interlock corner on a beach outside of heaven, across the street from where I grew up after bombing rains. Somehow we lived, somehow we died, somehow we came back to the city side and dropped through civilized genocide. We had no fight with your armies, held down from the Western forces. Had no love for the harmony, we bear no hate for the West. Western forces. When you speak out, you sing loud. Everybody wanna tear you down, but come on, come on, come on. Step to me, I got nothing but love to give you. We are the space race, we are the moon, we are the franchise, we are the sequel, maker of the ether. How are we still here? Look for your place along the space race.
All right, let's look a little bit deeper at Jupiter. I'll play some more tunes, but quickly while I got the shot, Jupiter and Saturn are just rising in the southwest for me, and the moon is also starting to set, and everything is getting pretty hazy, but got to see Jupiter right here with its Galilean moons. Of course, it's got a lot more, but these are the ones that we see, the 4. I'm just going to tell you exactly what those are, because bottom left, you got Europa, then Io to the right, Ganymede, and then at the top right, Callisto. That's the config for tonight. It's a big difference between the 11-inch and the 8-inch, but of course it's the 8 with the focal reducer and hazy skies, so that kind of close-up of Jupiter was pretty rough compared to what we've been seeing the past few weeks, but all good. Saturn is not really visible just yet, but it's cool that we get to see the moon and the planets. I'm going to head back to the moon, put some more tunes here. This is the one with Alan Watts. And talk some more.
Life, don't cling. Let go.
Let go.
How can I desire not to desire? How can I surrender myself when myself is precisely an urge to hold on, to cling to life, to continue to survive? I may be like a person who has a bad habit, as a result of which he is committing suicide. He knows that, but can't give it up, because the means of death are so sweet. The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. People undergoing shock, people locked in the colorless, monotonous corridors. Is that if you are really aware of your own inner workings, we didn't have some campaign to have an improved brain, when you see that there's nothing else, If you want life, don't cling.
Of the midnight moon, maybe right up with the midnight moon, maybe right up, seven midnight moon, just right up, last midnight moon, maybe right.
let's talk a little bit more about geometry. So I was trying to find a bird skeleton so I can show how really the shape of a bird is the top of these hexagons and this hyperboloid. Let me save this. And what else? Bird skeleton, and what about leopard? I lost that image of the leopard mouth, but man, that is such a distinct feature. Where is it? Leopard, snow leopard. Perfect. There we go. Save that. Live research. So moon's getting pretty hazy. That's to be expected. But what's not expected is how consistent this fundamental geometry is. Whoa, that's massive. Massive. Set, transform, fit to screen, whoa, taken over. Look at this snow leopard. There we go. So look at the mouth of the snow leopard. Look into the mouth of the snow leopard. Genghis says, didn't they say they figured out that birds can see magnetic currents? But I think what I feel is like that about bees and birds. The birds and the bees feel these currents because humans are also magnetized, because we're basically the same geometry, the same matter, the same substance, pinched in different ways, and we navigate using magnetism as well, just a different way of doing it. But anyway, snow leopard and sketch pad. Where am I? Sketch pad. I'm gonna have to reset this one. New, don't save. Make yellow. Large and yellow. I think you can already see what I'm gonna draw, but let's draw it anyway. So there's your hexagon, or slash hexagon pentagon. You've got your hyperboloid right there. Same thing as you got right here. Are you sick of me doing this? Because I'm not sick of it yet. It's so crazy that, like, it's not just seeing things. It makes perfect sense that some sort of electrical phenomenon pinched this area and created this geometry, and similarly this leopard was born along a Birkeland coaxial circuit where its mouth was pinched in the same way this was pinched. That makes way more sense than the disconnected reality that we live in now, and we'll see if we ever get to a holistic understanding. What's going on, Lost Brooklyn? OMG, loved the title Lunaverse. I was wondering if I had done that one before, but I felt like it was pertinent for tonight. Okay, so what do y'all think of the snow leopard mouth and this idea that, you know, we are grown along a filament, like, as well? This, I can draw the plane of inertia, and along that inertial plane, you can draw the two eyeballs, and then our eyebrows, in a way, are hexagons, or tops of hexagons. And then perfectly, I can bring in the image of the bees, the birds. All right. Right there. Bird wings go out the same way. And they fly probably because they line up in some regard to these magnetic fields as well. All the different bird necks are like different pinches along this coaxial circuit. Yeah. And the feathers are basically modalities of frequency in plasma. Even Tesla was saying that it's sonic resonance in plasma is what creates matter. So Ken talks about it in different ways, but to me that makes a lot of sense. And then further, we can just talk about the center and consciousness and time. So at the center of this hyperboloid, you have layers of short-term memory emanating outwards, and then you have its larger shell of that's your birth. So you're resonating with all the shells. You know, sometimes you think of like you're going about your day and you'll think about an old memory and you'll spend your day thinking about that. So the way I see that is that your center core, the moment of now, is sympathetically resonating with these different layers that represent, have encoded electrical signatures in the form of, you know, like patterns that we see on Chladni plates, cymatics, so resonant frequencies. They're just invisible to the naked eye, but we're resonating with them through these layers of plasma, and then intersecting these layers of plasma are our house, Wi-Fi, you know, other people, and we're creating networks of these. Let's see. Unnamed citizen, what's going on? There's inner and outer space. That's what creates matter. So inner space is pushing outward, and outward pushing inwards creates that layer. So consciousness and the moment of now, this new layer that's created out of the oscillation is a combination additive effect of the moment that you're experiencing this resonance of the previous frames. And where is this? This is at the center of the hyperboloid, where information is coming in constantly and then moving out and recycling. But the reason we see patterns is because we're grown along a filament. Same thing with birds, same thing with the moon. Makes way more sense that way. All right. I think that's enough plasma stuff for tonight. The rest of the show is going to be tunage, and let me know if you have any thoughts. Running here at like an hour and a half, feeling good, feeling great. 12:12 on the clock, and trying to find us some jammy jams to play. What about something from the old days? This one's good. Sorry about that, it was loud.
It's imaginary, man, don't you know? Your life is worth more than this. Catch me if you fall, catch me if you're low. The loot goes high enough, as fast as you can go. Oh, catch me if you fall, catch me when you're low.
All right. That was a little catch, Light of the Moon, and we got a super dusty setting moon right here. But I want to hop on chat a little bit more and then wrap it up for tonight. Let's see, got some really nice comments. Thanks everybody. Very much appreciate your presence. And shout outs to everybody who's lurking and all the old TBS people and people who are not here and people we lost. So let's see, got Rastaman Lives, what's happening? Says, have I made any videos explaining weather phenomenon in an electric universe model? So that's the type of stuff that, while I definitely feel like is completely accurate in terms of the concept, I think that, you know, there's suspicious observers, there's Daniel from the Electric View does Smash-O-Mash, Smash-O-My-Ash, Smash-O-Mash. You'll have to look up, yeah, he has a great channel, he's doing space weather. There is Andrew, let me see if I can remember, Andrew from Thunderbolts Project, who does just amazing assessments of weather phenomenon. Andrew Hall, and who else? There's several others who do electric weather, and I feel like it's not like out of my league, but I'm not as practiced, excuse me, or as versed in electric universe weather. Sorry, let me clear my throat. Yeah, short answer is no, I haven't done weather stuff in the electric universe because there's a lot of it. I mainly focus on merging philosophy and metaphysics with physics and astrophysics, and also the relationship between things in space, more astronomy based, and I don't know, I am all over the place. I talk about a lot of different things. I'm losing my voice, fam, so I'm going to wrap it up here, but I very much appreciate it. Let's see, Scotch is right on time, Monkey Shoulder, let's see, Soul Nutrients Live. I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's been a really super fun stream. Thanks for hearing me talk about it. I think Ken Wheeler, Theoria Apophysis channel, does a much more accurate and scientific explanation of these fields. And of course, a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about is from him, from Eileen McCusick, from who else? From Eric Dollard, from Maxwell, from Russell, Walter Russell, but a lot of different things all converge. And then, this is also the stuff that I'm showing y'all is from quantum theory as well, and from atomic theory. So there are a lot of truths that we grew up with that are still accurate to some degree, but within the context of fields and electrical interaction, magnetism, instead of gravitational, non-etheric, I think we can interpret the universe a lot more clearly and put everything together in this unified way. I think that's my purpose at this point, especially because it was derived from looking at the moon over and over, and then looking at Jupiter and Saturn and looking at M42, and you start seeing this geometry, and you start thinking like, how are these things so similar? And then the obvious answer is that they are similar because of this, at least for me, and hopefully some of you enjoy it and are getting a little bit of like more visual reference as I do these sketches, because I feel like that's a big part of it. Imagining it is one thing, but like seeing with those glasses makes it way more palatable. All right. Thanks everybody, and definitely if you're new or you haven't checked it out before, check out the description of the video for links to music and gear and other great channels. Check out the playlists for compilations of a lot of different things. There are tons and tons of old videos, all enjoyable. And even for people who've seen all these streams, it's kind of fun to revisit stuff from 2017 and see what was talking about. Some chat room songs and whatnot. All right, y'all. I'll catch y'all tomorrow or the day after. Take care. Have a great day tomorrow. Stay wise and kind as best you can. Going out with Prism Dagger right here. All right, y'all. Peace.
share.